Welcome back to Sub-Zero Hero, the FM21 adventure where we were meant to be taking a club from the third tier of Norwegian football to the top using nothing but our youth intakes. But ominously, we are back in the boardroom after the agony and heartbreak of relegation. Well, in this episode, we're going to bring you up to speed on what happened next. So what happened next took even me by surprise, if I'm honest. I'd only just finished the team talk following our relegation playoff defeat. Then I check my emails and, surprisingly, the first one I come across is the offer of a new 3-year contract. Surprising, not just because we'd been relegated and I was expecting to be sacked, but also I still had 2 years to run on my existing deal. But when I read the next email, it started to make sense a little bit. The board had taken our relegation from the second tier as the starting pistol to turn the club professional, and obviously I needed a new contract so that I could go professional too. So what was looking like it was a heartbreaking story actually had some little rays of hope. I've got a new 3-year deal. Granted, we're back down in the third tier, but now we're starting it as a professional club. Our youth players have all moved onto pro contracts. They're training 5 days a week now. And I actually am feeling a little bit buoyant despite the fact that in terms of divisions, we're back where we started. It's been a pretty eventful winter moving everybody onto those pro contracts. We've had another youth intake, which we'll show you in a minute. We've had players that have been playing international football over the summer for the Norwegian under-18s. If you look in their qualifier against Wales, they had Idoi Hansen, our centre-half, who actually scored during this game. They had Mats Nesser at right-back playing for them, and they had little Morten Hartviksen playing for them over on the left wing. And in the same tournament, we also had one of our youngsters playing in Iceland's under-18s as well. So that was more positive news. We were busy during the winter. We were fending off lots of bids, especially on transfer deadline day. Some big clubs coming in for our youngsters as well. The likes of Hammarby came in for Ludvig Dreyer, and they are a top Swedish side. In fact, the player that was most in demand was young Jonas Hartviksen. Another Swedish club, Helsingborg, came in with an offer for him. We rejected all of these offers. Dreyer was fine with it. Hartviksen, not happy at all. His morale is through the floor. He thinks we've dashed his hopes of his big move, but he's just going to have to lump it because we're getting everybody now assembled, ready for a promotion push as a professional club at this level. We've had a really good season of training. We're going to show you in a minute just how much development some players have made, including Hartviksen. And we've had our new batch in as well. Their head of youth development was saying it was going to be an excellent group of players coming through, even though he highlighted every single position on the pitch almost as having virtually no talent coming through. Now, the one position he did not mention was striker. And boy, have we had a striker come through. So I think we should introduce you to the team that we're going to play in today's fixture. And that will tell you everything you need to know about our new youth intake as well as how our players have been developing. So rather than show you the development of every single one of our youth players, I thought we'd do something a little bit different for the start of season 6. We've got a cup game to start the season with, and we're playing a team that's 2 divisions below us. And I might be taking them a little bit lightly, but I thought it might be a nice opportunity to start a game with 11 of our own youth intake all taking to the field. And it will allow us to show you who are our top performing youngsters now, and also show you a couple of little gems that came through in the last intake. And let's start with one of those. Our head of youth declared that there was no good goalkeepers coming through. I'd actually disagree with him. This is the first goalkeeper we've had through any of our youth intakes that I'm actually cautiously optimistic about. This is Bjorn Pedersen. The thing I like most is not just his all-round goalkeeping stats. Apart from his distribution, he's pretty solid across the board, and I do love his agility, communication, The fact he's already 6'1", and I'm hoping might grow a little bit taller than that, but his personality, well, that's professional. And he's only about 20 total attribute points behind Adrian Mikkelsen, who's been our first choice goalie for the last 5 seasons now, and he's 33 and can't go on forever. So I'm thinking Pedersen might just be the long-term goalkeeper that we've been looking for. So we're pleased with him. Along the back four, we have got a player who is really turning out to be a little starlet for us. This is Mats Nesser. He came through the last youth intake. During his first season with the club, he's improved by 36 attribute points, and that's when he was still training part-time. He's now on a pro contract. He's on a pretty hefty wage at 16 years old. But apart from crossing, we're now turning him into a really, really strong option at fullback. Crossing is his main area of development for this season, but you'll see physically, he looks good. Mentally, the determination, the bravery, the aggression is superb. Technically, well, he's got plenty more attributes that look like they might get into double figures during the next season. And if we can build his crossing up, well, he looks like a great option for us. Then, in defence, we've got his partner in the Norwegian under-18 squad. This is Lars Ole Udoy Hansen. Again, he's only 6 foot, but he's got jumping reach of 15. His heading's good. He's aggressive. He's brave. He's determined. We want to work on those technicals, the marking, the tackling, granted. But another player who's only 17 and is looking really good. Then today we're going to start Simon Sunder, who is underwhelming. I'm still clinging to the fact that he's a model citizen, but he didn't develop very well last season either. But every time we play him, he does tend to play pretty well. I mean, look over the last 2 seasons. He's been averaging at just under a 7. So he's going to get the nod today just to be a slightly more experienced head in a very young back line that's going to be completed by a player that I'm trying to solve a problem with in the team. We've not had great fullbacks through, which is why a centre-half in Mats Nesser is developing over as a right-back, and Mohamed Tefram is going to be developing over there as a left-back. He came through last season with the highest total attribute points we'd had so far for one of our youth players. He didn't have a great season of development, and as a winger, well, he lacks pace. He also is not the greatest crosser, and he doesn't really have great other attributes for a winger such as flair and things like that. So we're going to try and turn him into an auxiliary left back. His positioning is going to be his biggest weakness, but otherwise, if we can get all of those 9s into double figures, he's still only 16. Now he's on a pro contract. We might be able to turn him into a usable player. So that's going to be our back 4. And I'm thinking 3 of those players are probably going to be starting lots of games for us this season, as well as trying to give Pedersen as much game time as I can in goal. Now, over on the left-hand side, we could have played Tefram further forward if Jonas Richardson wasn't suspended for today's game. He's another player with total attributes that are over 300 that didn't train very well last season, hence why we're not relying him as a left-back option. So on the left wing today, we're going to go with a player who really wants to be playing over on the right, and I tell you, this guy is now pushing for Gersa's place because he has started training incredibly well. He's now got pace of 16, agility of 16, acceleration of 15. So he is a fleet-footed little option over there on the wing. And he started training incredibly well since he went full-time as well. We had to field lots of bids for him on deadline day. His crossing's up to an 8, his dribbling's up to a 9. His first touch is not bad. His passing, he's getting there. We've got to work on his vision, granted. But I reckon Schönerson could well be stealing game time from Gersa this season, because Gersa trained better last season, but he's not blowing me away. He's sulking about being relegated. He signed a pro contract, but he's been a little bit sour all around the camp during the winter, and he's still not making huge progress. I mean, he's still got plenty of potential according to the coaches, but I'm not seeing him realise that through training performance. So Schönerson might just be pressing him this season. Then we're going to have a regular 2 in midfield this season of Ollie Christian Jensen, who has got the highest total attribute points of any of our youth players still. People like Nessa are catching him up fast. And granted, his is skewed a little bit by having such high bravery and aggression, but he's going to be our ball winner in midfield alongside Dreyer, who we found plays best when he's a deep-lying playmaker. He's got some great attributes for that, such as his balance, anticipation, composure, decisions, first touch, teamwork, vision, work rate, all good too. Physically, his superb passing. It's a 9. We're working on it intensively. And Dreyer was the last to want to sign a professional contract because he thought he was too big for the club until we got past deadline day. He didn't move and he was happy to sign a new contract, albeit on quite a lot of money. And then up front, well, we're going to start with Hartfixon today. Not because his morale is particularly good, not because he's particularly happy at the club, although he did have a great season of training last year. He went up by 26 attribute points last year, having gone up only 8 in the year before. So he's looking good. His finishing is up to 7. It was 5 when he came through. We're desperately trying to make him quicker. But otherwise, his attacking attributes look pretty good. He's going to start today purely so I can make a whole 11 full of youth intake players, even though his morale's not the best. And then we've got the player that has come through with the highest total attributes yet. And he's also physically pretty impressive. This is going to be a 6'7" target man, Hugo Emper. Jumping reach is already 16. He's a good finisher. Composure's good. Bravery's good. You'd like aggression to be a little bit higher, but hey, you can't have everything. He's got a balanced personality, but determination's 14. So not the worst. He's good in the air, as you would expect. We're trying to get his teamwork up. It's already gone up 1. It was 5 when he arrived. We'll work on his passing, his work rate, his stamina. But look how well he's training for a guy with a balanced personality, and having these boys training full time doesn't seem to half be making a difference. He's played a mixture of pre-season friendlies and games for the under-19s. And well, look, he's already banged in 17 goals in 15 appearances, 11 of them starts. So that's looking pretty good. I guess the last thing we want to do before we get out there is maybe to show you how our under-19s have started the season. And the answer to that is not too bad. They lost their first game of the season to Lillestrøm's under-19s, but otherwise, well, they've been pretty impressive, playing a mixture of friendlies as well as starting their under-19 championships, where they have won plenty of games, including beating teams like Rosenborg's under-19s, which was pretty good. We've beaten Brand's under-19s as well. Got a draw with Milder, who were one of the best teams last season. If we have a look at the table, you will see that they are second in that table, which is pretty good. What we didn't show you at the end of last season was how badly they fell away, though, at the end of the last campaign. They were in with a chance of actually winning the title with about 6 games to go, and then the form fell off the edge of a cliff. And granted, once it was clear that the title was gone and they were knocked out of the Under-19 Cup, I relinquished control of the Under-19s just to focus on the first team, and look how well that worked out. But this season, I'm back in charge, giving it another shot, and I reckon we can be tussling with the teams at the top of the table again to try and steal an Under-19s championship. Okay, here we go. Opening day of the season, cup game against a team 2 divisions below us. Just to get to this fixture, by the way, we've just had to play a game with the Under-19s, and they did win it to go top of the Under-19s group. So they are performing well, and we have a highlight in the opening minute. Here's Schönerson showing us that pace, and also showing us why he's not the best finisher in the world, but still not a bad start. So we've got our experienced players on the bench today, just in case we need them, but there is our great hope, 6'7", Hugo Emper, tiny Emper, the boys call him around the camp. And Gerser has popped a corner right on his head, and he gets his first senior goal for the club less than 6 minutes into his full debut. That is not a bad start. It's just saying we've got the experienced boys on the bench if we need them. In preparation for this, I just played a friendly a week ago using nothing but our youth intake players. Granted, we were playing a team better than this, just one division below us. They didn't look that impressive, which is why we've got the big players on the bench for us, because we do need a cup run to help out our finances. We're £150,000 overdrawn, and moving professional has meant that the wage budget has now meant that we're spending, hack it clear, spending rather than £4,000 a week on wages, we're now spending nearly double that. The youngsters have gone from being paid £5 a week to now being paid £100 a week. And players like Dreyer, who were on, I don't know, £250, £300 a week, now that they've gone pro, are on much bigger contracts. So we could do with a cup run in order to help shore up our finances. We got the ball with Jensen in the midfield. He slipped Hartfixon through. He has not been at his best during this pre-season. He's one of the players who really has not taken well to us turning down big offers for him. Look, we've got 14 shots, 8 on target, an XG of 1.4, 8 corners as well. We've only scored once in that first half. I think we should go and have a little word for the boys and see if we can put on a slightly more impressive performance in the second half. Okay, we are underway for the second period then. So we're looking for some big performances from our more senior youth players. Dreyer, Gerser, people like that. It would be good if they could show that they are going to be the stars for us during this season. Emper's got the ball. He's knocked it down. It's Emper again. Oh, he's only gone and scored a second, hasn't he? I've got to admit, little Hugo Emper does look like a bit of a prospect. Not only has he come through with the highest total attributes of any player we've had, but he's training well, and he's 6'7" as well. And for a target man, you know, he's got pretty good all-round physicals. I think we could turn him into a reasonably quick target man given enough time. He could really be a great little addition to the squad. What else have we got? We've got Schörnerson striking a post. And again, Schörnerson came through, 3 seasons ago now. Didn't have particularly high total attributes. He came through with total attributes that were about 80 lower than the ones that Gerser came through at. But I honestly think he is on the verge of replacing Gerser in the side. He's training so well. He's still a good 20 points behind him. But physically, he's so quick and has got so many good stats that you'd want in a winger. Well, look, he's certainly going to be getting lots of game time at the very least. Here he is again. Look, he's coming forward. He's given the ball to Edoy Hansen. And here's Nessa, another player who we're so excited about. So what should be a season of doom and gloom, really, following relegation, I'm actually pretty buoyant about. Going pro, getting another good couple of youngsters through, a keeper in Pedersen, and little tiny Emper as our target man. I am actually feeling pretty good about this season coming up, as Pedersen shows why. He's got a little bit of work still left to do, but he's a 15-year-old keeper. He's not going to be a regular this season, I don't think. I'm going to try and get him maybe 10 starts in a 26-game season. We're still going to rely on Mikkelsen a lot, but he's also going to be playing regularly down there in the under-19s as well, and hopefully he's going to have a good season of development. Hartfixon has put another weak shot away. Just looking at the performances, Hartfixon's not doing great. Neither's Tefram at left back. I'm not sure how well that little experiment is going to go. And I feel like we just need a third goal now to put the game to bed, as Emper has another chance. And he looks all right, doesn't he, Emper? He looks like a good little acquisition for the squad. And we're in again. Schörnerson. He's got Emper in there. This could be the hat-trick. It is. Let's introduce you to him. This is Hugo Emper, I think. He's actually going to be rotating quite a bit with Grunwald this season, even though he's only 15. Imagine if he grows more, by the way. His jumping reach is 16 at the moment. We've got to build his strength up a bit, but I honestly think that jumping reach could go to 20. I also think maybe it's time to make a quick change, and then we'll see you for the end of the game. Okay, double substitution made. We've brought on the Icelandic Antonsson in central defence. We've still kept it all youth players. We've taken Hartfixen off, moved Gersa up front, and we've brought on another little youngster called Jonas Lenning, who is the player that came through with the lowest attribute of any player we've kept on. But bless him, he's trained so well over the last 2 seasons that we're now going to try and give him the occasional sub appearance because he's got pace of 14, acceleration of 14, and his crossing and dribbling are both 8s and 9, so maybe we might be able to use him. In fact, I've done him a disservice. They're 9 and 12, so even though his all-round game is not great, bless him, he's trained his little socks off. We're going to try and give him a little bit of game time during this season, so there is a game played using nothing but our youth intake, and they've got a 3-0 win. And who was the star of this particular show? Well, it is Hugo Emper, and I reckon we could be looking at our first genuine Sub-Zero hero.